examining the Treaty of Versailles. So we're starting to look at the response, and this is about halfway through this lesson. So this is what I put on the board every day is what we're doing, what we're working through. So we have already gone through the maps of Europe and the world. So you're talking about how they changed for World War I, so pre-World War I compared to post-World War I. And then we looked through the different sections of the Treaty of Versailles, looking at 3 important sections about some of the things that Germany was being charged with, like what their kind of the repercussions of the war, what was happening to them. But the main focus being on what's called the War Guilt Clause, which stated that Germany alone was responsible for all of the destruction that happened during World War I. So then we're going to start to look at the German response. And so the main questions that we're trying to answer is, why was Germany upset about the terms of the Treaty of Versailles? And then how might this have led to the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany? So what I'm going to hand out are 2 different responses to the Treaty of Versailles. The first one is written by Brockdorff-Rantzau, who I'm trying to remember exactly what he did. He was the minister of he was a German foreign minister, and he's Count Brockdorff-Rantzau. So that's from him, and if you want to pay attention to the dates of when these were written. So the second one is a reply from Hitler. So what I want you to do is, when you get your copy of the speeches, is start to skim through and then just write, like underline or highlight words that you don't know. So we're not reading completely, we're just kind of pre-reading, skimming through to find words that you don't know, phrases, or things like that.
From Hitler and one's from...
Yeah, so this is the German play from the Count, and then this is the speech from Hitler.
And one is...
And so the key is, yeah, so the first one was May 15th, 1919. There's a second one is 1923, so times changed. Alright, so does anybody, for the sake of time, will move a little quicker than we probably would do with freshmen? That's who are in this class. So has anyone found any words or terminology that they're not really sure about or seems new? Yes?
I'm familiar with the idea of motherland, but I see fatherland in here. Is that just a German derivation?
Yeah, it's just a German phrasing of it. That's the way that they would just refer to it. Maybe it's a more paternal society compared to maternal society.
Sure.
Do that route. Okay. Anything else? Yes, Ashley.
Tonnage.
Where do you see that?
The 4th paragraph on the last line, first word. Where it says...
Right, so that's tonnage. So meaning
Tonnage.
it's on the first one. Yeah, so tonnage. They're talking about having to send shipyards and the amount of, in tons, of basically a large amount in tons of what they have to send to the Allies that Germany doesn't get to keep. So they're saying that their shipyards are to construct primarily a tonnage destined for the Allied and associated governments. So they're trying to not put a strict statement of this is how much we're sending, but there is a large amount that's going to them. What other words do you see, Andrew?
Well, it says they have to give up for the merchant marine.
Right, so, and that's a good one. Has anyone heard merchant marine before? So in the United States, we do have a U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. It's actually another military academy. Does anyone, or military style, anyone heard of Merchant Marine? Do you know what it means or what they do?
Not really.
Mark?
So the merchant marine are international seaborne trade, and they need to have basically the same maritime skills as the Navy, so they take their training very seriously.
So somebody who would attend something like the Merchant Marine Academy would be would be running like big tanker ships, or the ones that we have in our ports here. So any of those things that come in, those are people who went through like merchant marine training. It's obviously very different than like going to boater safety school and getting your license to drive a little boat in Lake Union. Yeah.
So they're selling, they're trading, they're selling goods, they're merchants, but they have military training?
It's similar to it because of the having to go over. It's not quite to the full extent of the military, but it's based on the training from like the Navy to then also run large ships and do that type of stuff. All right, so anything else? All right, so what we're going to do with these documents is we have the first one, which is Count Brockdorff-Rantzau, and the second one is from Hitler. So what I want you to do is we're going to skim through them to try and get the gist of it. So I'm going to break up into groups, and the idea is that we're going to end up discussing these key questions that we have up here. So why was Germany upset about the terms of the Treaty of Versailles? And then how might this have led to the rise of the Nazi Party? So what types of things might you be looking for when you are skimming through a reading to try to determine possible solutions to this or answers to this section? Yes, Tara.
Aspects that go against Germany's best interest,
Good.
perhaps.
Yeah, so that's...
That would make them mad.
Yeah, because that's the things here, what's going to upset them is things that, like they talked about, from what David said, it goes against the fatherland. They're trying to find what's best for them.
I'm always interested in countable things.
Okay.
Because I think numbers tell us a lot about what's going on.
Okay.
So things that we can identify
As specifics almost.
specific. Yeah.
So like yesterday when we were talking about the Treaty of Versailles, and they're stating exactly how many miles from the Rhine they can build, or they have to be away from these types of things. It's really like, you can tell what that means to them.
Right.
Good. Anything else you think we should look for?
Maybe language that Hitler uses to inspire his people.
That's a good one, yeah. So that's focusing on the second one. How might this led to the rise of the Nazi Party? So we're looking at something you have to realize that we're looking back with, years and years of knowledge of what Hitler and the Nazi Party had done, but at this time period, there wasn't knowledge of that. So did anyone find the dates on there for when these two speeches came from?
1923 for Hitler,
Okay.
and then 1919.
So we know that from prior knowledge that 1923 is kind of like getting close to the peak of the downfall of Germany and the economy, where it's a rough time for all of them. So you have to think of what the German people are going through in general also to hear the words that Hitler is sharing and how that might relate to them in the situation they're going through. Yes, Michael?
It's an interesting time period because it seems like, at least in the U.S., the 20s were very popular, the roaring 20s, lots of progress being made, and if Germany's comparing themselves to that, that would make them really angry.
Right, and exactly, and this is, the idea of this is that we're leading into what we're going to go into next is that interwar period between World War I and World War II, where we really talk about how the entire world was struggling and how that led again to World War II and those repercussions and that sort of thing. All right, so what I want to do is we're going to break you up into, probably do 3 groups so we can do some quick skimming on these for time's sake. So we'll do groups of 3, and we'll have you split up actually groups of 4. We'll split up the first one into probably 3 parts, and then someone can do Hitler. So we'll do group of 4, and then group of 3, and I'll help you out with this group of 3 over here, okay? So just determine what section you do. So maybe somebody doing the first section before what they had marked as page 2,
We'll do that.
section 1 before section 3. So you're going to do it in your group. Each person's going to do their one. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So you'll take like
right.
this section.
Is this the Hitler group?
And then you'll take the next
The
one.
second
And then you'll take Hitler's speech.
Well,
I'll do
I
Hitler's
think
speech.
my understanding was within this group, we break up into the
Did I
different.
miss it out? Oh, yeah, 4. Sweet.
Hey, welcome. Hello.
Welcome,
I don't know.
So have you all figured out what you're going to read?
no, not yet.
Okay, so There's some page markers, so that'll help. So if somebody wants to do up until that section 2, so we're kind of skimming just for sake of time. So if somebody wants to do that, Peter, does that be okay?
That sounds great.
Up to 2. Looks like Mark's fully into the Hitler speech, so
I
we're
read
going
it
to
all
hang on to
now,
that
so
one.
I've read both.
Okay, so go ahead and focus just on the Hitler
Okay.
speech for right now while we're working on this. Carolyn, do you want to start from underneath the 2?
Alrighty.
And then to the 3, and then you can do the 3. So if you finish early with this one, it might be good to just help out some of the people and double check some of the stuff that's going on there, okay? So again, if you still run into words that you don't understand, just mark those. We're just gonna, for sake of time, we're just kind of skimming to see if you can figure out some of the key things that he's really looking, that would answer these questions here.
Got about 4 minutes. Alright, since we do need to keep moving, I'll give you about another 20 seconds, so try and get as much as you can. Just gonna keep moving today.
And then we share.
So we'll actually, we'll kind of have everybody, and I have a group set of questions, so we'll, you just want to hang on a second?
Oh yeah, but I think that this one just it's how like his time doesn't have a balance.
Reading it, but
So many people in the
sounds
world.
like they're
That's what I would
It's like fatherland and the republic in the same sentence.
Right. No, right. Yeah, I think it's just the appeal.
Only because it's 1926.
Alright, so we're not gonna do some recaps, but we're gonna do it through questions. So I'm gonna give you a few questions, and if you see if something relates from your section, you're gonna share with your small group about the answer to that, okay? So the first question we're talking about is, what objections does Germany raise to the treaty? So do you have, so share with your small group that you broke up that paper, the article. So if you see any, and then are these objections valid in your opinion?
It seems like it is mathematically impossible to supply the nation, and it seems like the counselor is just raising the point. This is a mathematical impossibility. Is the world ready to deal with this problem?
Yeah, it says here a loss of 21% of the total harvest of these foodstuffs because they lost territory. So now they can't provide for their own country because they lost land that would potentially provide for them.
That's good. They kind of, when we talk as a group, that's a good one to share with David if he doesn't get focused on it. So it's not gonna be-
Yeah, this.
Yeah, this.
The traitor will kill more people than the war.
No assistance, however great and of however long duration, could prevent these wholesale deaths. The peace would impose upon Germany many times the number of human lives cost her by this war, 4 years. So,
Alright, so we're going to jump ahead real quick and get into the speech about the Hitler speech. So one of the last ones that I would ask the class is, let's talk about how this speech might have appealed to the emotions of the listener. He's kind of, he's got some allusions at the end that he's trying to like convey to people. So why would his speech kind of appeal to the listener at the time, the people that are hearing him, these Germans who've been struggling throughout this time period? For those of you, so this is those of you that read the Hitler speech. This is your time to share. Yep, small groups.
So, he pretty much makes it.
These things relate directly to the earlier speech's complaints, in that the treaty is suffocating the people. The unification of all Germans is